right, I'm ready. You sure? I appreciate it. Thank you. Ready as soon as you are. Ready? Okay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sikalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in America, New York. And it's been quite an eventful few days that has passed since the last time we had a live show here in the studio. Got a lot of snow, I'll tell you that much. A hell of a lot of snow. Are we allowed to say hell, or is that one of the bad words that are not allowed? I'm okay with that. I have to make sure. I have to keep everything as PG as possible. Because God knows that, a lot of times I don't want to keep my words PG. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that have been making us very upset over the past few days. But I will say something. This past drive that I had coming here to the studio makes me feel like there's a light at the end of the long dark tunnel. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I look at the simple things in life and things that just give me pleasure. And one of those things is that it looks like the darkness is going away. Have you noticed that there was daylight coming here today?
No, it certainly took a longer time to get dark. That's for sure.
What's that?
It took a longer time to get dark. That's for sure.
It was almost 6 o'clock and there was still daylight out. I don't know if that's like common. I don't know if that's something that is just something that has like passed my memory, but I don't remember mid-February getting daylight at 6 o'clock. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the gopher. What was it? The gopher? What's the thing that comes out of the ground? A hedgehog. Hedgehog? Is that what it is? Groundhog. I said everything. I said gopher, groundhog, everything. I don't know what the groundhog said, but
You did say 6 more weeks.
it said 6 more weeks. But you know what? I'm seeing daylight, and you know what? I'll take a little bit cold if daylight is coming. But that being said, let me start off with everybody and just get a little into these past week's events. As everyone knows, I was at that Landlord rally that we had over in the city by Gracie Mansion. It was cold. I'm thanking every single person that came there and endured that cold and that weather and that snow, because it's one thing to sit outside for 5-10 minutes, and it's another thing to be there for a few hours and just get that snow pounding on you and the wind and the cold, and just to be with the highest of optimism, which everybody there was. I was very pleased that everybody that came in to support the cause. We didn't get anybody there to try to break up the rally. However, the weather, I'm sure, helped as well. I'm sure that a lot of the people that were representing some of the tenant units and groups weren't really over the top looking forward to sitting and freezing there alongside us. So that might have helped out that we didn't get anybody trying to be the anti-landlord group. But We got to hear some stories that day from some landlords that were genuinely severely affected by this eviction moratorium and the rent laws that we have here in the state, in the city. Simultaneously, while we were having our rally over there, we had rallies happening over in Albany, and they had a larger group that came there. And I'm going to address quite a few things as far as what people have been commenting on, what people have been talking to me about, what people have been asking. I'm going to get into everything during this show. I'm going to be thoughtful and I'm going to be methodical because I took some time to really analyze last Thursday's event and come to some conclusions. So that being said, before we get started, I'm going to... What's up, Anthony? I'm going to be addressing everybody that's writing to me in the live chat, in the super chat. I'm going to make sure that I'm trying to be on top of it as much as I can, because obviously last week when I was doing the live stream from Gracie's mansion, there was not much I could do. Holding that phone in the cold and not necessarily having more equipment to be able to answer everything on the spot. I did do everything I could, however, to address everything as it was coming in live. And I think I did get to everybody. And if there was any comment or any question on that live stream that I didn't get to, please let me know about it. I think I got to everybody, but I don't want to dismiss anybody. That being said, while you're on the show and you have any specific questions and they are very personal or that kind of thing, you don't want them really talked about on the air, you could always email me at realestateplateradio@gmail.com, and I'm going to make sure to address that as well. And I don't want to make people feel not necessarily comfortable answering the question, because I know there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's very personal and affects people very directly. So I'm going to make sure that I'll be mindful of that. And if anybody wants to call into the studio, the number here is 516-623-1240. One of the reasons late that I haven't been giving out the phone number for people to call into the studio has been actually because I'm having some technical issues on how to be able to record the audio that's coming in from the phones simultaneously while doing the streams. And I'll try to figure out how to get that done. We'll get to that point. So, what do I feel about the landlord rally? What are the kind of questions I've been getting? One of the things that I've been hearing a lot about was, well, we didn't have a big turnout. We're not going to get anywhere. Let me address that in the first place. We had about 35, 40 people that showed up that day. Those 35, 40 people, including myself, were willing to stand out there in the middle of winter, in the freezing cold, getting blasted by a blizzard of snow, and still stood by there for a few hours with signs, willing to talk up and speak for their rights. And I'm gonna clap right now. I'm applauding everybody that was there. I give you the highest of credit. I give you all the respect that I could possibly give because it wasn't easy. I was there, and good for you for being there. Good for you. You did the right thing. To the people that didn't come, I understand why you wouldn't come. The weather wasn't great. It was pretty nasty. On a couple of streams right before the rally, building up to it, and knowing that we're waiting for a blizzard, I actually on the videos said to people that if you're elderly, if you're prone to having health issues, that this cold could really affect you, I don't recommend coming. It's not worth losing your life for one protest because there will be others. I promise you. There will be others. This is not going to be the last one, and it's not going to be the biggest one. CBS did come there. They did run a story. And again, I'm going to do a lot of clapping today. I'm going to applaud CBS for being one of the few major media outlets that were courageous enough to show up and to cover the story and actually write a story. Unlike many others, because all the major media outlets were invited, they knew about it, they didn't show up. CBS did. And CBS has run a few stories that has been trying to help educate the public about what's going on to landlords under this eviction moratorium. I'm not going to say that all their stories are not, are on the landlord side. They've done plenty of tenant stories as well. But they're at least taking a more even keel approach, and they are approaching the subject in a way where at least we get our side of the story heard. So again, thank you, CBS, for being there. Thank you for writing a story. Thank you for enduring the cold, as all of us did. And I'm hoping that you write many, many more stories and you cover many, many more protests and put them on your television stations as well. As far as the rest of the media outlets, shame on you. Shame on you. What was better? What more did you have to do that day in New York City? What was more important? Sitting by a busy road, saying how people were slipping on the street, or possibly it's turning around and talking about how Ted Cruz went on Cancun vacation? What was your stories that were so important that you couldn't at least send somebody out there on the beat to cover what was happening? I know the Cuomo story's on fire right now. Everybody's on that bandwagon. You're laughing, right? Could that kind of attention go on to any more of a deserving person? Good for them. At least go after one person that's a headache. If it's true, crucify him. If it's not, at least now he knows what it feels like to be at the other end of a witch hunt. Am I right or wrong? No, I'm not. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the kind of guys that actually were there during his behind the door meetings and talking about all the stuff that he was talking about and threatening other politicians and stuff to shut up and that kind of thing. I wasn't there. I don't know if it's true or not. So don't sue me, Cuomo. I know that you're going to go after everybody that says anything wrong. I'm not saying that you did anything one way or the other. All I'm saying is, let's see what happens. But from a personal standpoint, I can't say that I'm not taking a little bit of pleasure of seeing him squirm, because he's made a lot of people squirm in the city. A lot of people squirm in this state, and it's caused a lot of heartache for a lot of different reasons. So if this is the reason they're going to go after him, so be it. There's a pretty big reason. People dying in those senior homes is not a laughing matter, and it's a serious, serious story. So I hope they come to the bottom of the story and figure out exactly what's happening. But on that note, with politics and politicians, I didn't see a politician come in there to the rallies on Thursday. I didn't even see a politician address it or even send a tweet out in support of the landlords or against the landlords. I would like to have some acknowledgement from some politician in our districts or our regions or in the entire state. Whether I can't ask for the mayor or the governor to say anything, they're too big for us. But a little bit of acknowledgement of what was happening and addressing it would have been nice. But I guess I'm just expecting things to be nice. Things are not necessarily always nice. And you can tell I'm talking a little slower. I'm talking a little bit more methodical today. Because, my nerves are a little shot with this whole situation. And I'm trying to be mindful, and I'm trying to be as even keel as humanly possible without making any kind of rash type of judgments and make any commentary that might not necessarily reflect the whole truth. But I know that other than CBS, there was no major media outlets there to give us any respect. But I'll tell you something, when there's some kind of crazy tenant story going on and they're looking for the sympathy of the public, they're there. When there's like some kind of tenant rally going on, they're there. Why don't they come to us? Why? Because it was snowing? They got reporters out in the middle of the snow. They got reporters out in the middle of the blizzard. Send one of those over. Doesn't have to be one of your A-list reporters. At least acknowledge it. At least show us a little bit of respect. But we didn't get that. The politicians didn't acknowledge it in any way, good or bad. And I find that extremely insulting. I would have actually preferred them actually turn around and talk about it, even if it was from the negative end. Because at least that way they acknowledged what we were doing. But for some reason, they were beyond even acknowledging us. A tweet would have been nice. Something. Anybody that watched that stream saw some people that had really heartbreaking type of stories. People that are so deeply affected by this unlawful mandate that, honestly, even if you're the cruelest and the coldest of people, you would at least acknowledge it at that point. But not the politicians, not the major media news outlets. And again, I'm going to thank CBS again, because I'll give credit when credit's due. Anybody that's listened to the show knows that I'm not a big fan of biases through big media. I'm not. Even though I'm like somewhat part of the media with my little rinky-dink show on an AM station in Long Island, I'm not exactly establishment. I'm definitely not major media. But I got a voice. I got a microphone in front of me. I got Trevor here next to me that could amplify the volume if I need him to. We got a little group of people that listen. And slowly but surely, we'll get more and more people listening. And I know that people do support the cause. And there's a lot of people that actually came, that didn't come actually, because they're fearful of being seen publicly and any other kind of backlash they might get from their tenants. And I'm going to address that right now because I'll be quite honest with you. I understand that. I understand the psychology behind that. I understand that it's not the easiest thing. You're fearful. You have some kind of hesitation to do that because you don't know what a crazy tenant might do. You don't know what some psychologically demented person that might be your tenant might do. I get that. But if you have a standard situation where you just have somebody that's, I'm not going to mince words, person's a deadbeat. They're not paying because they just don't feel like paying. You know that they are fully working, they're making income, they have no issue whatsoever of not paying you, other than the reason that they don't have to at the moment. If you're in that situation and you got somebody that hasn't paid you in over a year, just for the reason of because, and I've been using that because a lot of late, just for that reason of because they're not paying you, what do you have to lose at that point by going and demonstrating? Now, I'm not going to tell anybody how to conduct themselves and how they should feel. But what I will say is if you are not supporting the effort through either going and demonstrating and protesting with the rest of the landlords that are going, then at the very least, you should be at least supporting the posts. You don't have to support my videos. You don't have to support my radio station. There's plenty of other landlords out there that are advocating for landlord rights. Show your support towards someone and or all of them, including myself. Every time you listen to one of these streams, every time you listen to one of these videos, you should be clicking like. You should be commenting and putting your 2 cents in and sharing. And I've said this time and time again. You don't have to like everything I have to say, but when I'm making videos and I'm speaking directly about these landlord rights and the hurtful things that are happening because of this eviction moratorium, you need to support it in any way you can. And again, I've said this 100 times. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and once we get some kind of resolution, unsubscribe. I'm not looking to have 1 million people following my channel and my videos. I just want the people that believe in the same things that I have thoroughly cemented in my DNA. As far as everybody should have the same kind of rights. And everybody, regardless if you're a tenant or a landlord, you should be treated in a fair, human way. That's all I'm asking for. I'm reading right now from Anthony. The Medallion holders sporadically rallied on 59th Street Bridge for some media attention. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. They're another group that's been really screwed up and they've been really treated in the wrong way. Medallion holders have been, again, I'm not going to mince words. They've been screwed by the city. They were supposed to be protected by the city. And the fact that there's Ubers running around all over the place doesn't really protect them. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people that are very, very happy that they have the option of Uber. And I believe in capitalism and I believe in free market. However, the medallion holders were not free market and they had to pay exuberant numbers, insane numbers to buy those medallions. And they're seeing the value of those medallions just plummet. Not because they're really bad at their job or the taxi industry, the medallion industry cannibalized itself in multiple ways, because they did at one point. Not because of those reasons. Because the city that issues those medallions and mandates laws for the people holding the medallions and has all these restrictions in place and has artificially propped up the price to be so expensive to own a medallion, has basically sold them out and has not backed them up. And if there's anybody that's a medallion holder that knows exactly what I'm talking about, feel free to comment, feel free to call in, whatever you like. But what I'm saying right now is landlords have been treated unlike anybody else. Medallion holders have been hurt. Small business owners, they've been neglected. Restaurant owners, they've been used and abused. Things got to change. Yeah, I'm taking this from the real estate end, and I'm taking this from the landlord end. But it'd be completely negligent from my end to completely, turn a blind eye to what's going on. And it really is all related in a lot of different ways. It truly is. It truly is. So now I diverted again. Let me go back into my thoughts. So you have a lot of people out there that they're afraid to be seen. Okay. Then what I'll say is make an anonymous account and put the comments down and click like and share it and put it to your Facebook groups and to the people that are affected as well. And to the people that can understand from a business point of view how abusive these laws are. You truly need to be taking that approach. You truly need to look at it from a standpoint where who's next? Because right now the housing industry, the landlords are under a complete attack. But who's next? Because I guarantee you it's not going to stop there. So for everybody that has been supportive of the cause, thank you. The people that were there, I'm going to thank you again for enduring the elements. And, my hands are barely back into like functional shape. But there's a lot of other people that were in a lot worse shape than I was that still stood out there. And thank you. Thank you again. Thank you to everybody that couldn't make it, that was on the live stream, asking questions, making comments, doing their share, doing their part to bring attention and bring attraction to the cause. Because that's the thing. The more attention we bring to these streams, the more attention people pay to any kind of information that is at least advocating another side of the story, will at least bring us higher up in the rankings to be able to be understood and at least have our voices heard. Because it's been way too long and it's been way too one-sided as far as the story that's been told. Now, as far as the stories that were told during the rally, I'm going to take that stream, and I'm in the process of doing that right now. And I'm hoping within the next few days I'll be completed with everything. And I'm chopping up the stream to give everybody the segments of each individual speech that was given. And there's some really heartbreaking ones. You have situations of landlords being severely attacked by tenants and still having to live under the same roof with that tenant. You have stories of people having cancer and needing the space for themselves, and the city not listening to anything. There's so many different stories, and you have to listen to yourself. I would not be able to do any justice to them by narrating them myself. First of all, I'm not the most articulate, and I don't have the greatest of voices myself. But it's one thing for another, like myself or anybody else, to be telling you the story, and it's another thing to hear the story being told by the individuals that are being truly affected directly, and hearing their voices tremble and fighting back the tears and dealing with the travesties that we're dealing with. Thank you for being courageous enough to sit there in front of everybody with a microphone and state your story. Thank you. You're doing yourself a justice, and you're doing justice for a lot of other people that don't have the voice to be able to speak themselves. And at the same time, I'm going to address a couple other questions that were brought to me because, like I said, I got a lot of email and a lot of messages that were sent to me over the past few days. One of the other things that was asked to me directly multiple times is, why didn't I make a speech myself while I was there? Well, there's a couple reasons why. The first reason, and most important reason, is I already have a platform. You see me on my platform right now. I have my radio show. I make the videos through social media. And I've said my story, and I'll continue to say my story. And I don't need any more attention on myself. I think the people that spoke deserve to have the spotlight on them and not have somebody detract from that. So that's one of the key reasons why I didn't say anything. The other thing is, everybody was freezing. By the time we got towards the last person that was saying something up there, I think it would just be torture for the rest of the people to sit through another speech. And again, everybody's heard my speeches. Everybody's heard my rants. And they're going to continue to hear my rants. And you're hearing my rant right now as we speak on the radio and through YouTube and through any other streaming platform you're listening to me on. So those are the reasons why I didn't get up and speak. I had plenty of opportunities to say the stories, to say my story, to say everybody else's story, and I'll continue to do that. And the other thing that I've been getting from a lot of people are stories of their individual kind of situation. So I'm going to actually take an effort to start reading and narrating all these stories. I'm going to ask everybody that does email me these stories or send me messages with their stories to try to make them as uniform and as complete as possible and not have me fill in the blanks for them because I don't want to do them a disservice by assuming things. So if you're writing me your story, please make it clear as far as what your situation is. If you're stating how many months or if you're stating how long of a time period you've been in a situation of not being able to collect any income from your home, please let me know how long. If there's multiple units that you're dealing with that are vacant, let me know how many. Uh, if there's specific situations of when horrible things that have been done to you by tenants have been done, state those situations. Let me know what it is that you want me to relay, and I'll read it word by word, word for word. I don't want to fill in the blanks, and I don't want to make assumptions of what's missing. I'm also gonna ask everybody again that hasn't had the opportunity to send me a small video clip. You could do a selfie video. You could do whatever you like. You use your phone. Just reading your stories, and I'll add you to the landlord side of the story. And I think that um, the more people that do this will reach a larger audience and be able to um, connect with a larger audience in a way where they'll be understood a little better. I'm also going to say something. Like I said, this is not going to be the last rally that landlords are going to be having. I guarantee you that. And then, more than likely, the next one is going to be in much kinder and less harsh conditions. It's almost like, just a side thought, it's almost like Mother Nature had a deal with the politicians to not allow us to protest in the proper way to get us to stop. Just a weird observation. It's like like if it's not one thing, it's another thing. It's something that I don't know. What are you gonna do? It's just one of those things. But that being said, again, I am pausing. I am talking a little bit more restrained right now because I have a habit of when I get really animated and I really go off, I'll go off on a tangent and I just won't stop. And although Trevor was kind enough to allow me to go a couple minutes over the show, if I get onto my real rants, there's not going to be a show long enough to hold me back. And I'll leave that for another kind of situation where we're not on the air on WGBB, and we'll do it from another location, and I'll let you know my thoughts on that. So, am I disappointed with the results? That's another question that has been continuously been asked to me. Straight answer, a simple answer, no. I'm not disappointed with the results. And I'll tell you why. Yes, we didn't have a few thousand landlords, which we could have easily had if the weather was a little forgiving. But we did have a strong unit of landlords that came out that really were behind the effort. They were really animate about being there to show everybody that they were truly believing in the cause. They have been really affected by everything. I'm also going to say thank you very much to Rich Tyson that came down all the way from Rochester to join us. Not a simple thing, not an easy thing. He was one of the people that spoke. And everybody that doesn't know Rich Tyson should definitely go by his channel and check it out and see some of the stories that he has brought to us. See a little bit of what he's been doing to advocate for landlords. He's actually the one that's focused on, I believe, this third video from the landlord side of the story that we put together on this channel. There's been a lot of focus and a lot of highlights on him, and he's a great speaker, far more articulate than I am when he's speaking. I'm a little rougher around the edges. I got a little bit of that more New York City vibe going on with me, and he's got a little bit more of that upstate vibe going on with him as far as where he speaks. But when it comes to public speaking, I think that upstate vibe goes a lot further away than the way we speak. Now, what are we going to do to continue the effort? Before we get into that, I'm just going to complete my thoughts as far as my overall feelings. Like I said, I don't feel disappointed as far as the results. It was really cold. There was snow coming down. It was to be expected that a good big segment of people were not going to be there. Understandable. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with people that didn't show up, that are part of our groups, because we got thousands of people that are part of the groups that have not at least watched the video and that kind of thing, or at least, put a thumbs up to show that, like, you know what, I'm behind the effort. Doesn't take a lot for you to do that, and at the same time, in YouTube, it's anonymous. Whoever puts a like or a dislike. I'm not exactly enamored with the effort from those people. Surely for the reason that they didn't have to put a lot of effort behind what they were doing. I've gotten calls from people that are at the brink of catastrophe, that have reached their final levels of aggravation and frustration. Some people have come to the point where they just give up and they're just going to sell their homes and they're going to be done. And I'm trying to help hold people's hands as much as I humanly can to educate them enough to not make a impulsive or a harsh type of a decision. I hate to see people lose out, but I also hate to see people continue to be financially drained, psychologically drained, mentally drained, whatever you want to call it. It's not a simple situation. It's not an easy scenario for a lot of people. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are not in a state of mind that allows them to make the right decisions right now. And I'm going to suggest to everybody, I will guide anybody in any way I can that calls me up and ask me for advice. But I'm also going to make a point of saying I'm not an attorney. I'm not your accountant. Everybody's financial situation is different. The laws are something that have to be seriously looked into and need to be, understood completely. So you always should go for professional advice on any kind of move that you're going to make. But that being said, I will do everything I can from my end and my limited type of knowledge base to guide and help everybody as much as humanly possible. And if it means just being a shoulder to cry on, another person just to hear your story and make you feel better, so be it. Because I understand your pain and I want to do everything I can to help unify us in the best possible way. So, yes, I am disappointed from the point that more could have been done. But no, I am not disappointed in the efforts of everybody that was involved one way or the other. I am disappointed with all the media outlets other than CBS. Again, I'm going to give you your credit where credit is due. I'm disappointed with Trevor for not coming and playing some of that nice, heartfelt gospel music that
I watched it on Facebook, man.
that would have been inspiring to a lot of people.
Yeah, I watched it on Facebook, and I did make a comment.
You did.
Yeah, I said, Nick, you're doing a good job. I see you're a brave man.
Maybe a stupid man. Because I will tell you, I'm not exaggerating. First of all, based on that, I'm just gonna say something. Anybody that watched that stream and saw how bad it was as far as the shakiness and I did a couple of drops of the camera phone while the stream was happening. That's not because I'm just like a bumbling idiot and I'm clumsy. That's because I was literally freezing. I could not wear gloves to be able to control the camera in the right way. So I had to have my hands exposed. So you're holding in that weather like this, that phone. You do that for about 10, 20 minutes like that with your hands exposed in that weather. Your hands have a tendency of staying that way. So I was not necessarily in the particularly happiest of moods because of my hands. Everything else I could have dealt with. My body. Look, I'm not exactly a skinny man that's all bones and skin. I'm I got some insulation on me. My body could handle that cold weather, but my hands couldn't handle it. That was the worst possible thing, and it was definitely an experience like unlike any other because I've done live streams from location before, but because of the fact that it was very difficult to be able to control the elements and deal with the elements. We had some technical difficulties, but for the most part, I think it went okay. And speaking of those technical difficulties, we part of the reason why I haven't released a lot of those clips from the stream that have the individual speeches that were done is because I'm trying to edit the audio a little bit to make it a little more uniform and give everybody a better experience when they're listening to those clips. I'm not so concerned about the video content itself because you're basically watching somebody on the back of the truck with a microphone speaking. There's so much you could do as far as production levels on that, or at least so much I could do. But the audio, I think, is important to be able to make a little bit sharper and a little crisper, and bring it all together in the best way I can. So I'm working on it, and hopefully I could have that done. And if anybody else has some photos or videos from there, please start posting them. Start putting them out there. I saw there were a couple more people that did post immediately on there, and thank you so much for doing your share as far as getting more exposure and showing a lot of people more angles and different perspectives. It's very helpful, and I ask everybody to continue doing that. As far as why I haven't been posting so much on Facebook and on Instagram, because that's another question that I've been asked by, and even Twitter. I've been slowly going away from a lot of those social media vehicles. A lot of the restraints that I've been going through, a lot of times they're cutting through my live feeds. It's just something I just can't keep doing. If I'm gonna have videos that are gonna get shut down on me 10 minutes into the video, as I'm doing a live stream, I'm not gonna be able to really operate in that way and really give out my message the way I need to. If I'm sitting and trying to run a radio show and say what I have to say, or if I have guests with me and they're trying to, have a conversation, and I'm worrying half the time that I'm going to get cut off somewhere in the beginning or somewhere halfway through the stream, that's not a way to be able to operate correctly. It's very, very difficult. But that being said, I'm going to continue to innovate. I'm going to continue to use the technology in the best possible way I can. I'm going to continue to put together a package of technology and apps that I'm going to be using alongside each other in a way where it's going to give everybody the most pleasant and optimal experience while watching and listening to the show. Because the key is to have a decent visual and audio experience as it's going through. Again, don't expect high tech, off the charts type of videography from me, because that's not the thought process behind the show. The whole point of putting these shows together is what's coming out of my mouth more than what you see, coming out the screen. But I'll do my best to keep a good experience going on through there. The number one thing that is the driver behind all the social media that we use, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc., is this radio show. And as long as we have a strong AM and FM signal going through, and people are able to hear it on their dials, I'm content, and that's where it starts. Everything else is just added help and just spreading the words. Now, I did dedicate the majority of the show, actually the whole show, to this past rally that we had, and I think it was important to address a lot of the matters. And there were so many other things going on in the real estate world right now, and I'm going to address all of them in upcoming videos. I'll also get more into it next Monday when we're live again, and I'm going to make sure that nothing gets neglected. But I want to make sure that what we're dealing with right now, dealing with landlord advocacy and this eviction moratorium and all the mandates that are being mandated and restricting people from being able to live their livelihoods, stays in the forefront, because it needs to. And if it becomes repetitive, it becomes redundant, I apologize about that, but I'm not going to be apologetic about talking about it, because it needs to be addressed. And the more people that are like-minded that continue to address this and speak about it, that do this continuously, will maybe break the barrier and finally get some results. I'm hoping that will be the case. Now, we're almost at the end of the show, and I just want to add one more thing that I think it's really important. This past week, Rush Limbaugh had passed away from cancer. Now, I was not necessarily a big listener of Rush Limbaugh, but I do know his story, and I do know what he was all about. And the one thing that I do know that he almost single-handedly did for radio was keep it alive. He kept the AM dials going. He kept the FM dials going when Sirius Satellite started to take over the radio waves. When people like Howard Stern jumped ship and went the other way, and I'm not saying anything negative about Howard Stern. He did what he had to do. That was the only platform and the only way to be able to get his message out the way he wanted to get it out. But Rush Limbaugh stepped in and filled that void and turned a industry that looked like it was about to collapse into a very strong and continually progressive industry, which is AM and FM radio. Talk radio really did keep free radio going. You agree with me, Trevor? You know, it's not only him. There was a lot of other people that did that as well.
Howard Stern, he done shit because it was too stiff.
Well, yeah,
Allow him to XM radio.
yeah, and that's why I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He did what he had to do, and he had to go get his word out in the right platform. But the guy that stayed on, that was the big name, was Rush Limbaugh. And you know what? He kept it going. And hopefully now after he's passed away, AM, FM will still keep going, keeping our voices going. But that being said, I'm not going to overstep your gracefulness of letting me go over. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great week. Make lots of money in real estate. Keep those messages coming. And I'll see you again next Monday, just like every Monday on the Real Estate Plate, 6 to 7 p.m. Have a great week.
More exercise. When it comes to creating healthier communities, what this place needs is you to donate or volunteer go to UnitedWay.org because great things happen when we live united. Brought to you by United Way Ad Council.
Was a little more reserved this time.